Welcome into Overtime, presented by McDonald's. Along with Brock Netter, I'm Dewey Dailies. We bring you into today's show. Brock, it's nice of you to fill in for us this week and possibly next week as well, as John has decided to go on a little road trip down to Houston for a couple weeks. So nice of you to join us here the next couple episodes.
Absolutely. I appreciate you asking me to come on and as a part of SOSA, I'm here anytime you need me, my guy. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
So for this week's episode on Tuesday, we're going to talk a little bit about volleyball and then boys and girls soccer like we usually do. And then we're also going to touch on golf and cross country as well. So it should be a fun episode here. And obviously we'll have a football episode coming out this Thursday as well. But for now, that's what we're going to talk about, and should be a fun time this week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's going to be an action-packed week. But before we get into the episode, I do want to acknowledge that the Southeast Ohio community, we suffered a great loss in journalism circles with the unfortunate passing of Brad Morris, who was one of the co-founders of the Sporting Pumpkin in Pickaway County. He was a long-time writer for the Circleville Herald. I believe it was for about 16 years or so. He was an absolutely larger than life, one of a kind type of guy. I always enjoyed any chance that I got to run into him at games, all district meetings, just any chance that I got to see him, just sit down before a game or after a game, have a conversation with him, whether it's just about the game that we just saw, whether it's about the Cincinnati Reds or the Ohio State Buckeyes. He was just an absolute joy to be around. He was just a great guy, a great friend. He did a lot for me. He gave me some great advice. As the years went along and as I became further and further into my journalism career, my thoughts and prayers out to his family, to the Pickaway County community, to the Sporting Pumpkin. I know that Circleville and Logan Elm, that they're going to play on Friday in football, and I also know that they play Thursday night in volleyball. I believe it is. I know he would have been roaming the sidelines at both games, but now he's got a little bit of a better seat, and he's not going to miss a single action, looking down upon us. It's a great gain for heaven, but it's a huge loss for us, and we owe it to not just ourselves, but also to the Pickaway County community to continue giving them the best coverage that they can, through such a tough time. And, that's what we're going to try and do, right. Every single night. So, our thoughts and prayers out to you guys, to those he impacted, to his loved ones, to his family. Just know that, we are here with you guys, and, we are hurting as well.
Yep. Definitely a big impact on the Pickaway County, not even just sporting community, but just the community as a whole. But on to this week's, the format is going to be a little bit different because we'll still have John Bruce in. He's going to be sending in clips covering, a few different games, a few different players, reviewing some games from the previous week. So it'll be a little weird. You'll see him a little bit throughout the episode, as will be the case on Thursday. But for the games that I'm going to talk about and Brock are going to talk about, we'll just keep it right here. So it'll be about an even split between us and John. So it should be pretty interesting over the next couple of weeks.
We'll see about even. We'll see about that part.
Right. It honestly just depends how much work John does. But, we'll see. He has a lot of time on his hands right now. So hopefully he comes through for us. But to start things off for this week, we'll go to volleyball. And we'll talk about Laura Smith, the head coach for the Adena Warriors, who was able to grab her 800th win this past Saturday at a invitational. I think it was the Layman Invitational. I can't remember the exact name of the term. I know it was like a very highly regarded invitational. A lot of state-bound teams go to that because on this past week's broadcast with Shane, he was telling me a little bit about that. But for Laura Smith, 800 wins, the second coach all-time in OHSA history to reach that number. 39th year at Adena, 26 SVC titles, 35 sectionals, 30 districts, 7 regionals, and 2 state runner-ups. So that's about as good of a Hall of Fame resume as I think I've ever seen. I don't know if it gets any better than that. I also read a little bit in an article by Mike Smith that talked about how she has players now that also coach. She also coached their mothers way back whenever she first started. So definitely a generational coach over there in Frankfort for sure.
No doubt about it. There's definitely no doubt that whenever she decides that she's had enough of coaching, the very first thing Adena should do once she says, "Hey, this is it, I'm retiring," is say, "Okay, at the first home volleyball game, the court is being named Laura Smith Court." There's no doubt about it. She has turned Adena into the ultimate volleyball school. There's such a proud tradition. You know that every single year, no matter how experienced your team is or how young they are, you know they're going to be a factor, not just in the conference, but in the district, potentially at regionals as well. Just an absolutely outstanding career and one that's still building as well.
Right.
I mean, she's been doing this for 39 years, and quite frankly, she could probably hit 49 as well, maybe even 59. Who knows? Laura Smith is going to continue dominating volleyball until she feels. Until she feels like stopping. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, I'd say no matter the sport, anytime you win a district in 75% of your years, that's pretty good. I mean, I don't know how long they've been handing out medals, but she has 30 district medals. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Like, how much does that weigh? I wonder if she's ever tried to put all 30 on at one time. I mean, that would be ridiculous.
I would say that's at least 6 pounds of medals? Nah, maybe not that much.
I mean,
we have a medal right here.
I mean,
so how heavy is it? Are we talking like just a couple ounces? I mean, it's got to be at least 2 pounds of.
It also
medals.
depends on the quality of them back. When she originally, because I have recency bias on medals, or not bias, but like. I only know what they look like in recent memory, and I don't know what they looked like in the 90s or early 2000s or anything.
That's true.
But
that'd
be an interesting pitch. It's kind of like how like I know with like Michael Phelps, you've seen him with like it's not 30, but has like however many gold medals he has on. I think
he's got a lot himself. He's got a lot of himself.
It might be 30, I don't know, but I mean, and 30 district medals. You can add 7 regional medals on there as well. I mean, she's probably, the second coach ever to reach 800 wins, so one of the most decorated coaches in probably just OHSA history, period,
sure.
let alone the sport.
For sure. I got to find out what her secret is. There's got to be something.
Something out there in Frankfurt, just getting it done every year. But once again, congratulations to Laura Smith on 800 wins. Now we'll go to match reviews for volleyball. From this previous week, we'll start with Laura Smith's Adena Warriors as they hosted Unioto. It was the second league match for both teams here in 2023. They both came in undefeated in the league. Unioto took it 3-1. It was a 25-20 first set win for Unioto, followed up by a 25-15 set 2 win by the Warriors, and then in sets 3 and 4, Unioto won both times 25-16 for the Shermans. Ella Cutright led them with 11 kills. Morgan Daniels, the left-handed libero, had 30 digs, and then Emma Spett and Madeline Wetzel had 13 and 15 assists. So, a lot of times you'll see one player with like 30, 35 assists in a game. For Unioto, it's a little bit more even. It's split between 2 players. And then next, well, actually, by the time this is uploaded, it'll be today, but tomorrow on Tuesday, Unioto will take on Paint Valley at home. For Adena, they are at Zane Trace also this Tuesday, but for that matchup, Corinne Day, a game high, 13 kills. Grace Townsend, 22 assists, and Brenna Bossert, 10 assists. So Unioto takes it the first time around. Obviously, last year, Adena goes undefeated against Unioto. Their only league loss was against Southeastern, so it actually wasn't among one of the top 3 finishers in the SVC. The next time these two teams match up is, I think, 3 weeks from Tuesday. It's the September 26th, and that's at Unioto. Definitely going to be a match worth watching. It depends on how both teams do in the league up until then, but potentially it could be for Adena a chance to win a share of the league, or for Unioto it could be a chance to win the outright title.
Possibly. So, I mean, I will say this: I don't think there's going to be a gold ball in the SEC because the competition is just way too fierce. Whether that's Adena knocks off Unioto, whether that's Southeastern catches Unioto sleeping, or something like that. Huntington catches them sleeping. I don't see a gold ball. Not once again, not because no team is capable of doing it. It's just because the competition year in and year out is just that high. But it was a great win, an early season statement for Unioto, handling their business, being a veteran ball club. Coming out, handling their business, saying, "Hey, we are here. We have arrived. This is our time now." So great win for the Shermans.
Yeah, and then Unioto goes undefeated and actually wins their invitational this past Saturday. And then I think Adena went 2-1 in theirs, and that was also when Coach Smith got her 800th win. So now we'll have, I think John will give us the Huntington and Southeastern matchup, which I can't remember off the top of my head. I think the final set to 15 went to like 26, 24 or something. It was like an extremely long fifth set.
I think it was like 28 to 26. That is bizarre, considering it's just the first to 15 wins.
I mean, that's equivalent to like a 38, 36 normal set.
That is just insanity. So fans definitely got their money's worth. That's for
5
sure.
full sets.
Coming to you live from Houston, it's me. Sorry that you still have to see me. But my first game review from last week, Huntington at Southeastern, which was a 5-set match. Southeastern won 3-2. The first 4 sets were competitive, obviously, but then you go to the 5th set, 28-26. Southeastern wins it. 19 ties, 14 lead changes in that set alone. The Chillicothe Gazette's Jack Gleckler was there and was giving updates, but it just seemed like he wasn't giving the final score update. I'm like, okay, it's the 5th, and then it turns out that's why, because it was such a long, super competitive matchup between two teams that were very even throughout, obviously. Spectacular play by both teams. For Southeastern, Josie Lougheed paced the Panthers with 27 kills. Morgan Ware had 23. Lougheed had just a really good all-around match with 6 aces, 20 digs, and 16 assists to go along with that. Ware was one of the co-leaders in digs with 22, along with Jesse Higley. Chloe Wills passed out 33 assists to lead the Panthers on the night. Huntington was led in kills by Casey Carroll with 20, and Emma Henshaw with 19, and then Meredith Hirsch was also in double figures with 13. Carroll led the team in digs with 29, while Henshaw was second with 22. Both of them just had really good all-around games. Leah McCloskey passed out 32 assists, and Lily Steele passed out 26 to go along with her team-high 5 aces. This will definitely be a match to watch for in the future when we move down the line.
All right, so we'll look now at Miami Trace at Chillicothe. Kind of a similar matchup to the Unioto Adena one, just in the FAC instead of the SVC. Miami Trace takes it 3-1. They actually dropped the first set 25-16 before winning 3 straight, 25-18, 25-23, and then 25-12. Now, Miami Trace came into the game undefeated, but it was actually the first game back for Addison Butts, who was the reigning FAC Player of the Year. Because I was looking at, because it was a game we previewed last week, and I was looking at their stats, and I'm like, man, I don't see Addison Butts on here. And it's kind of hard to get information on like transfers or injuries or anything, so I didn't really know what happened. But then Derek was at the game, and he told me, this is her first game back, and if they can go 3-0 without her, I'd say the league is probably in trouble once she comes back and gets in the swing of things. But she leads the team in kills with 10. Kylie Yeasel, a freshman, with 30 assists. just a dominant game for Miami Trace. They dropped the first set and then, pretty dominant in the second. Close in the third, 25-23, but then, dominant once again, 25-12 in the fourth. For Chillicothe, Evelyn Hamlin, only a freshman, 13 kills. That's a game high. Also had 3 blocks. Sophia Mickey with 10 kills, and then Avery Cox with 24 assists. For Miami Trace, their next game is their next match is this Thursday at Wilmington. So I'm sure John will get a kick out of that for the Cane Pride. And then Chillicothe also this Thursday takes on St. Francis de Sales. So 2 big matchups for them coming up this week. But early in the season, Miami Trace takes it over Chillicothe. Actually, Chillicothe was my pick to win the FAC. I mean, obviously there's promise there as Chillicothe takes the first set. But, I didn't realize Butts was out, and the fact that they went 3-0 without her kind of makes me feel they're a little bit more dangerous than I thought, because they lost a lot. And,
yeah, they did.
When you're looking at preseason stuff, a lot of the time it's okay, who lost more than them. Mm-hmm. And, to me it was like, well, Miami Trace lost a little bit more than Chillicothe, but, I think what they brought back may have just been too dominant for that to really matter that much. So
this Chillicothe team, they've shown a lot of promise. The problem is they just haven't learned to finish just yet. Because remember, they were up 2-0 on Unioto, just a week or two ago, and then lost in 5 sets. So you take the first set against Miami Trace, and then you lose the next 3. So you can see that the promise is there. Mm-hmm. They can put sets together. They just haven't been able to put the entire game together just yet. And I mean it's something that's going to take a few games. They do have a first year coach, Leslie Hammond, as well. So still working a few things out, but they've shown the ability to get out early, to take momentum early. It's just about taking that momentum, seizing it, holding on to it, and finishing in the end. But this Cavalier team has a lot of promise.
Next up, we had another 5-setter, Logan Elm versus Teays Valley. Logan Elm takes it in 5. This was, to me, one of those rare matches where the team that won the first 2 sets actually won the 5th. Because if it goes to 5, I feel like the momentum swings so heavy in favor of the team that was down 2-0. Logan Elm won the first 2 sets pretty comfortably. And then Teays Valley took sets 3 and 4 by a score of 22-20 or 25-22 and then 25-23. The Braves won the 5th 15-13, so very competitive throughout. Claire King was huge for the Braves with 26 kills. Adeline Smith had 13 kills. Hannah Rhodes had a game high of 45 assists for the Braves. The Vikings were a little more balanced with Brianna Hessler, Bailey Reeder, and Kennedy Yonkin, all with double-figure kills. Tessa Bradley was all around for them with 25 assists, 16 digs, and 7 aces, which with the MSL, with how competitive they are and how excellently they play defense, the 7 aces really stands out to me. Super tough to get any win in that conference, let alone to win the whole thing. So it's a really good, really well played conference, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more on another one coming up. But these games really stand out to me.
And just one noteworthy game from myself, and then John will preview 2. Logan Elm at Circleville, another big-time MSL matchup. We've been clinging a lot on the MSL because a lot of their top teams, Fairfield Union, Bloom-Carroll, Logan Elm, Circleville, they've been playing each other, right? So Logan Elm at Circleville, this is this Thursday. For Logan Elm, both teams with 1 MSL loss. For Logan Elm, it was to Fairfield Union, and then for Circleville, a loss to Bloom-Carroll, who I would say is, at least for me, was the favorite in the MSL coming into the year. But
I'd agree with that.
Both teams, and this is kind of, and I know every year the NFL comes out with the thing where it's like every team is beating a team that's beat this team, that's beat this team, that's beat this team. Well, both teams have played Fairfield Union. Okay, for Logan Elm, it was a 3-set loss to them, and then Circleville a 3-2 set win. Okay. So, I use that a lot in my predictions, so I would expect Circleville to win, simply based on their, they have a I can't remember the correct term, but they have a similar opponent, a common opponent in Fairfield Union. So, I would think that would be a good way to determine that. But for Logan Elm, you have Claire King, only a sophomore, 100 kills through 18 sets played. They picked up a good win over Teays Valley last Thursday. She actually had 25 kills in that match alone. And then Hannah Rhodes, 161 assists through 18 sets played. And then Lindsay Van Hoos has very good libero play for the Braves as well. And then for Circleville, you can kind of expect to see, Gabby McConnell, Allie Thornsley, Addison Edgington, and Maddie Blakeman as well. Actually, in the loss to Bloom-Carroll, they did take the first set, so that's something to get a little bit excited about if you're a Circleville Tiger volleyball fan. But nonetheless, should be a very competitive MSL volleyball match this Thursday.
No doubt about it. No doubt.
Before I get in my noteworthy game of the week, I'm going to take a sip from McDonald's. Thank you for your sponsorship, and I'm sure Dewey will do that as well. But my noteworthy game of the week that I'm going to talk about goes back to the MSL with Fairfield Union at Bloom-Carroll on Tuesday night. This is a huge MSL matchup. Undefeated Bloom-Carroll hosting Christian Thompson and Fairfield Union. Bloom-Carroll has won 15 of their 16 sets on the season. Just really dominant. They are full of juniors. Really led at the net by junior duo Evelyn Knapp and Corinne Brown, as they're both over 60 kills on the season. Junior Madison Lacey has passed out 192 assists on the year, but she only has 2 ball handling errors on the season, which is kind of amazing if you ask me, because it's so easy to get that double hit, double contact, and get kind of a cheap error, or maybe just a bad pass. But it just seems like she's right on point with her passes throughout the season. And then senior Jaslyn Catone already has 20 aces on the season, and also leads the team in digs. So they are a very well-balanced team, and they can really come at you in a lot of different ways. So that's something that Fairfield Union is going to have to be cognizant of as they prepare for this matchup, which will be tonight, I guess. Now, moving on to Fairfield Union, obviously Christian Thompson, the Ohio University commit, is the player to watch for them. They are not balanced in any way when you look at that, because she has 155 kills on the season already. The team has less than 100 between the rest of them. So they're going a lot to her. So she averages 7 kills a set. The team only averages 11 kills a set. So, it's very heavy in their attack with Thompson, but they've got some other players that can really do some things. And, for the Falcons, they just really have to, they need Thompson to be really big in this match. They're 6-1 overall. They haven't lost in MSL. Bloom-Carroll is undefeated, as I mentioned already. So it's going to be really tight. Going to be tough to win at Bloom-Carroll. But for Fairfield Union, they just got to really use all of their weapons. Obviously, you're going to be heavy into Thompson, but use your weapons and try to push it to 4 or 5 and, just see where it goes from there.
So we'll now go to boys soccer. We'll review a couple games from the last week. I'll take Minford and Northwest, and then John will have Unioto and Grandview Heights that was played on Saturday. But for Minford and Northwest, I believe actually they both came in undefeated in the league. Only problem for Minford was they did have a tie with West, who, in the nicest way, has been pretty notoriously has had rough seasons at soccer. Then that's about as nice as I can put it. But they did tie West, who actually already has 3 wins on the season. They actually have a winning record at 3-2, which I don't think they've won more than 4 games in like 10 years. So potentially one of the better teams West has had in a little while.
To tie with Minford, it's impressive.
Right,
it's impressive.
Right. But Minford takes this match 3-1 over Northwest. Goals from Gavin Downey, Ethan Cordell, and Miles Montgomery. The only goal for Northwest was Caleb Lewis, who we've seen score a lot of goals for them in the early goings. We've talked about Northwest a lot in the first couple episodes. A couple big games, though, coming up for Minford. They have South Webster, which we'll talk about here in a minute, and then they also have Wheelersburg on September 12th. So those are, two pretty big matchups in the SOC2 in terms of league play. And I think all of those teams are Division 3 as well, or D4.
Yes.
D3.
D3. Yeah.
So definitely some implications in terms of playoff seeding as well.
A big win for Unioto on Saturday as they beat Grandview Heights 4-3. Grandview Heights, 2-time defending state champions in Division 3. Now, Unioto is Division 2, but this is still a huge win for them. And it's Grandview Heights is a team Wheelersburg's ran into the last, I believe, 3 seasons. And they actually knocked them off to go to state 3 years ago. And they're probably going to have to beat them again to get there. So this should give even Wheelersburg a little bit of extra confidence moving forward into that game. Now, last year, these two teams scrimmaged. It was 2-2 with like 20 minutes left, and Grandview Heights kind of pulled away. But for Unioto in that match, Lucas Haynes didn't play. So I'm not sure if Grandview Heights didn't know how good Lucas Haynes is because the senior with over 100 career goals got 3 for the hat trick in the first half alone. 2 assisted by Camden Smith, who's had a really big season so far. Scoring for them as he still leads them in scoring. I think he's got 8 goals and either 2 or 3 assists so far. So it's a really good dynamic duo up top for them. They were actually playing without a 4-year starter. They have 3 of them, and they were without one. So it's a really good win. They were actually up 3-2 at the half, and within the first 25 seconds, Grandview Heights tied it to start the second half. It was a gorgeous set of passes all around, and they did a really good job of Unioto not bowing to that pressure, and they were able to take the lead with about 23 minutes left. Bryce Derringer, a sophomore, had a corner kick that found the head of a leaping Owen Link for the game-winning goal as Link pushed the ball into the back corner of the net. I'm not sure. I don't think he had a goal last year, but Link had a couple as a sophomore on that state team. But he's been a big part of their defense along with Cameron Thompson. And between Thompson and Link, they really helped shut down the attack of the Bobcats in that second half after that initial, obviously after that initial 25 seconds. But freshman goalkeeper Blake Egginger has done a great job for the Shermans. He had 8 saves in the match, and he's kind of been thrown into the fire. Immediately goes to Wheelersburg for his first ever start, and the first goal he gives up is a penalty kick from Max Higgins, who's never missed a penalty kick in high school. So not really easy start for him, but he's done a good job for them as they've gotten off to a really good start. As I mentioned with Lincoln Thompson, that defense has been really good. It's a big win. They don't have all the same guys as they have had the last couple of years, but still, Grandview Heights is a really good team, and for the Shermans, it's a really good win.
So we'll just go ahead and jump right into that game preview for Minford and South Webster. Minford going to be 5-0-1, 2-0-1 in the SOC2. In 6 games, Miles Montgomery, 6 goals, Gavin Downey, 5 goals, Ethan Cordell, 4 goals. All 3 of those players also have 3 assists. But you can't sleep on South Webster. 4-1 overall, 2-1 in the SOC2. The loss to Wheelersburg, who took down a really good Unioto team, only a 2-1 loss to the Pirates. So there's a lot of promise there. They actually led 1-0 at halftime against Wheelersburg, but the game is 2 halves for a reason. So take that however you want to take it. I think Coach Claxton has a really good group with the Jeeps. Should be a pretty good matchup between Minford and South Webster. And,
yeah, no doubt.
If you're an SOC2 fan, it'd be a good game to watch.
So, here's the thing. Remember that South Webster coming into the season, they only lost 1 senior, and even though it was their senior goalkeeper who had like 118 saves or something like that, That was their only loss, and they were playing predominantly, a lot of freshmen and a lot of sophomores last year. Well, those guys now, they have that year of experience under their belts. One thing you always know about South Webster is they are a very, very pesky type of team. They don't go away. You could have them down 6-1, and even in the back of your mind, you're still like, this team still has the capability to apply pressure. And I mean, they battle teams year in and year out. I mean, the 2-1 loss to Wheelersburg. I mean, Wheelersburg, they've won like 4 district titles in the last 6 years, something like that. I mean, they're in regionals every single year. And when you look back at their schedule, you always see that South Webster game, and it's always like 3-2, 2-1, 1-0. And there's just something about South Webster that they just have this mentality that we are the underdogs no matter what, and we are going to leave everything on this field for 80 minutes, 90 minutes, 105 minutes, however long the game needs to be. They will battle you until the end. It's going to be a very, very interesting matchup. I will not be surprised at all if South Webster won. I'm not saying they will. I believe Minford will eventually pull out the win, but it's going to be very, very tough to do so because the Jeeps are just pesky.
And that game is this Tuesday, once again. I say it every time we talk about South Webster. That's without a doubt my favorite mascot in our coverage area.
What exactly is a Jeep, aside from a vehicle?
So if I remember, because John has told me a couple times, I think the Jeep is from Popeye. I believe so.
Actually, I think he told me that too.
So
now that I think about it.
But if there was like one mascot that I could have like a costume of, like I don't know if they have a Jeep costume, but if they don't, they're missing out. Like, could you imagine? Because I know they don't have football, but like, imagine you go to like, and I haven't been to their gym, but like a South Webster basketball game. And there's just that running around in the gym.
I think they have a mascot painted on their basketball court. I know.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, I think they do. It's either on their basketball court or it's on the wall somewhere. They do have it. I've seen it. I just can't remember exactly what it looks like. But I have seen it.
But if there was like one thing we could add to the table from like any school, like it would be something South Webster.
South Webster.
Like literally, like if I could have anything with a Jeep on it to put on here, I would. Like I literally don't care what it is. Like if we had to hang it from like the mantle or like get rid of the Buc-ee's hat. Like even if it was just like a South Webster hat, like I would put that on the table.
You got to keep the Buc-ee's hat.
I know.
We have like this little triangle of space to where it could still be filled. So anyone down there in South Webster, if you got something, like send it on up here. We will gladly display it right here on this table.
Like I didn't go to South Webster, but like the Jeep pride is real on Overtime. I love the Jeeps. But enough of Jeep talk. We'll go to girls soccer now. We'll go to girls soccer. Only one match review for us from...
I'm sorry y'all are seeing this. There's a spider that just like crept on me real quick.
Was it a big spider?
No, it wasn't big, but it was just enough like in my peripheral vision. I just happened to look over and just see it crawling. I have no idea where it went.
I'm sure.
I mean, luckily it's smaller than my nail. It's actually way smaller than that. I just saw it creeping. So my bad, guys.
Oh man! But girls soccer, only one match review for us this week. It was the sole match that I previewed last week. It was Rock Hill and South Point. These two teams they finished 1-2 in the OVC a season ago. Rock Hill takes it 2-1. The goals for Rock Hill, Allison Rogers and Haven Noel. For Rock Hill, big win early on in the OVC season. They have a match this Tuesday against Fairland. South Point, also another OVC match when they take on Chesapeake. I couldn't find the goal for South Point. I'd say it's pretty likely it was Jasmine Jones, just because of how how contributing and how strong she has been for the Pointers so far this season. But a big win for Rock Hill in the early goings of the OVC regular season.
Rock Hill replacing a lot of goal scoring, but getting it together, finding those new pieces, racking up the wins, building confidence for a young. How exactly would you say they're because the Rock Hill red men, but I don't think you would call them the red women.
We've had this. Me and John have had this discussion so many times.
Yeah, I don't know.
Same thing with like Huntington.
Yeah,
like
well,
the lady huntsman.
Yeah, the lady huntsman. Yeah, it's an oxymoron in a way. I don't know for Rocky. I don't know how
Well, it's
I would
like
say
Jackson
that.
does, like the Iron Ladies, or like even Gallia just
the Blue Devils, Blue Angels.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. Iron Men, Iron Ladies. I get that. Yeah, I'm trying to.
It's either red women or lady red men. They're both. I mean, red women that's fine. Lady red men is kind of weird, but
I'll have to make a trip down to Ironton and figure out like the correct lineage, just so you know. I want to be correct and give them their proper credit.
Right, and we did. Me and my dad went down to Rio Grande and Rock Hill played Oh
yeah, I forgot about that.
I can't remember.
Last year.
I can't remember what they were
2
called.
years ago. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was last winter, and because on away jerseys it just says the school, so you would have to look at their home unis to see what the mascot is, and I don't think they had their home jerseys on, and if they did, I can't remember. We have to have an interview somewhere with somebody from Rock Hill where it either says red men or like lady red men or red women or something.
I'll have to go through the archives, some of the videos we've done. I know it's only been like one or two that we've done.
Right.
But yeah, we'll have to go through the archives, figure this out.
There's a couple big games this week. First one I'm going to talk about, I'm going to go more in depth on, is Unioto at Chillicothe, which is on Thursday. Chillicothe's led by Kiera Archer with 9 goals on the year. Savannah Knapp has 6. Allie Mathis, who's been a big-time goal scorer for them, has not done a lot of scoring, but she has 2 goals, 4 assists for them on the year. Elena Crawl has 12 saves. Keegan Willison with 20, so they've got kind of a two-headed goalkeeper situation there. Not an ideal start, as they started off 0-3, but they've won their last 2, including emphatic wins in the FAC with a 5-1 win over Miami Trace and a 10-1 win over Washington. So this is still a really good Chillicothe team. They went out, challenged themselves in the non-league, and it hasn't worked out yet, but I think this team's just going to keep getting better throughout the season. They're well coached. They run a really good system. It's going to be this should be a really good game. And then also for Unioto, they're off to a 3-0 start. Good win down at Wheelersburg. They beat Amanda. They are a good team. Amelia Urig kind of leads them. Her and Reagan B each lead the team with 3 goals apiece. B actually had a hat trick in one of their games. So she's dynamic. Ella Pelfrey scored a couple goals for them. Aiden Dannison's done some scoring for them. They've got really good goalkeeping in Maya Free. I think this is going to be a really good test for Unioto. As after this, they've got a tough non-league, but the SVC is not the strongest at this point in girls soccer. So this is one of their really big matchups. Obviously, they're just down the road from one another. They've got a big one with Athens coming up on Tuesday first, but on Thursday, big-time matchup, Unioto at Chillicothe. The other one to discuss is Fairfield Union at Bloom-Carroll. Now, Fairfield Union did lose to Teays Valley, and that caused them to take a step back in the MSL. But right now, if they want to be competitive and have a chance to still tie for the league, they must win this game or get some sort of result at Bloom-Carroll. Bloom-Carroll 4-1-1 to start. Only outscoring opponents 35-4, so not as emphatic as last year just yet, but they are an extremely good team. They've dominated in MSL play. For Fairfield Union, they are 6-1, outscoring opponents 25-6. It's just Maddie Mitchell's done a really good job. Kyla Gasser, Rachel Worthman, Claire Brown is a name you've heard for a while there for Fairfield Union Soccer. Fairfield Union, very good program, one of the top programs in Southeast Ohio. So I think for them, this is a big-time matchup for sectional district seeding, and as well in MSL races. They want to stay in it. It's going to be a tough game at Bloom-Carroll. It's never easy to win over there, and Bloom-Carroll is loaded. So it's going to be a tough matchup, but if anyone can do it, it's Fairfield Union.
Transition over to golf. We haven't covered a whole lot of golf on Overtime. Actually, we haven't covered any, so we're going to kind of round up what has happened so far this year. We'll start with SVC golf. Now, with the boys, well, I should just say, overall, Westfall just has an absolute stranglehold on golf in the SVC. They're currently leading in both boys and girls. They've also won every meet as well. So, but the standings for the SVC boys golf, Westfall, Unioto, Zane, Trace, Adena, Piketon, Huntington, and Southeastern. And then for the girls, not as many teams, or not as many schools with teams, but still Westfall leading, Piketon, Unioto, Zane, Trace, and Huntington. Now, I already mentioned through 3 boys meets, Westfall has won every single one on both sides. For the boys, Brendan Beegler and Jacob Hicks have kind of led the way for the Mustangs so far. And then for the girls, they've actually had 4 meets, one more than the boys so far. Paige Weiss has more or less kind of, I don't want to say carried, but played a pretty big role in the Mustangs' success so far throughout the year. She's averaging a 38 per round so far through 4 SVC meets, and was also named the Southern Ohio Junior PGA Player of the Year. And in those Junior PGA events, actually, she's been in 13 of them, 11 top 3s, and 5 wins. I don't know if it gets any better than that.
I don't think it does. I golf occasionally. Do you think I could crack 95?
No, like these people averaging 38. Like if I shot 38 one time, I'd never stop talking about it.
Oh my gosh, it would be my Super Bowl.
So
that's what it would be.
Really,
if I ever shot anything under 60 in 9 holes, I'd be elated. I really would be. And yes, I know I got a bad golf game. I'm working on it.
I will say, I think golf is one of those sports where the margin between like average players and like I mean, obviously high school isn't professional, but like the gap between like your every like Sunday player and like professionals might be the widest in golf than like any other sport. I mean, it's like
far.
It's ridiculous. And then a little bit more golf talk. Taylor Ralston of the Manchester Greyhounds, averaging a 34.7 per round through 7 rounds. That's 63 holes, averaging a 34. That's
Goodness
ridiculous.
gracious.
She's Player of the Year in the Shack, 2020, 21, and 22. Manchester has won the league 2 years straight, currently leading the Shack as well, so I really wouldn't expect them. I would say there's a pretty high chance they're going for the three-peat this year.
Probably so.
Especially with a player to the caliber of Ralston. I mean, I would say it would be pretty tough to not win the league when you have a player that's averaging under a 35 per round.
I want to see her and Paige Weiss go ahead.
No, seriously.
I
yeah.
need to see it. That's a 34 and a 38.
We'll get it on SOSA, and it'll be our version of the
gosh.
match. Just instead of Tiger and Phil, it's Weiss and Ralston. I think that would be good marketing as well.
We could make it happen, I'm sure.
I mean, it'd be weird how we'd do the camera setup. Me and John would be like Jim Nance and whoever. I don't even know who else does it with Jim Nance, but yeah, we'd have the match on.
It's Gary Danielson, the legend.
Oh, is that who it is?
I think it's him, as far as I know.
And then one more golf mention. We're going to go back to the SVC a little bit. Boys for Zane Trace in 3rd place overall in the league, but John Grondolsky in 3 of the so far through the 3 SVC matches has been the medalist in 2 of them. So he's been really competitive for them so far. He won the Dogwood Hills, or was a medalist in the Dogwood Hills and Pickaway Country Club matches. That has been like the last 2. So the very first one of the year was at Crown Hill, where Unioto's Charlie Lewis actually took that one. So despite being in 3rd overall in the standings, John Grondolsky has been probably making his case for potentially Player of the Year and potentially. I'm assuming golf does like first team, second team, that kind of stuff. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not either.
But I would definitely say he'll be making an appearance at the SVC banquet here in a couple months.
Yeah, I know they have Golfer of the Year. I do know that.
Oh, right. If you're, currently, he's won 66.7% of the matches. So, I mean, I don't know how much of a better case you can make than that. And I will say it is kind of interesting how through 3 matches, Westfall doesn't have a medalist yet. They've won every match. Just in the congregate, they've just been by average the best team. And I think that's something interesting to look at. So John will have a little bit of talk about cross country. I might put that after this because all of this is going to be done in post-production. It's the first time we're doing it like this, so I'll get a little bit of practice this week, and then we'll hopefully next week will be a lot smoother and a little bit more organized.
It is cross country time here on Overtime. Huntington Invitational on Tuesday, so we're just going to get really right into results. Ryan Richendaler from Adena won the boys race with a time of 16:41 to win the 61-runner field. Unioto won the team race in really a dominating fashion as they took 7 of the top 11 slots, led by Caden LaRue's second place finish. He was still 13 seconds off of Richendaler's pace, so Richendaler just, really dominated this race. Next up for, also running really well for Unioto were Gideon Tennant, Jaden Lewis, Ethan Pertee, Zach Uten, William Lynch, Jackson Smith. We're backing up LaRue to give them a lot of depth. Also rounding out the top 10 were Zane Trace's Wyatt Vick, Miami Trace's Eli Flurman, and Southeastern's Grayson Roberts. So over there at Huntington, the Hopkins Farm race, always good. Kind of a precursor for kind of what the SVC is going to be like. It's a really good showing by Richendaler and the rest of those Unioto kids. On the girls' side, sophomore Cameron Walker from Unioto won the girls' race with a time of 19:57. It's a good year. Shermans took 6 of the top 11 in the girls' race as well, including all 4 spots in the top 4, with Brianna Nelson second, Adeline Lloyd third, and Gwen Eldridge fourth. Ava Fife also finished in the top 10. I believe she was 8th for the Shermans. Also finishing in the top 10 were Huntington's Rachel and Sarah Lute, Adena's Vanessa Connolly, Southeastern's Carly Peters, and Paint Valley's Mackenzie Crum. So that's the Huntington Invitational. Now we're going to be like Michael J. Fox, and we're going to go back in time to last Saturday. First off, the Golden Rocket Invitational at Wellston, a 12-team boys race, was won by Vinton County. Eastern took 3rd, so good showing by those 2 teams. Samuel Boyd from Vinton County finished 2nd individually, and he had a really good last 2 weeks. Eastern's Aiden Warner finished 3rd. Other top 10 finishers were Oak Hill's Walker Fobel finished in the top 10. Vinton County's Jackson Walker and Sam Quackenbush, and also Washington's Avery Whiteman. On the girls' side, Vinton County finished 2nd as a team, and Huntington was 4th. As far as top 10 finishers, they were led by Oak Hill's Addie Brown, Huntington's Rachel Lute, Vinton County's Hollis Swain, which is a great name, and Eastern's Gracie Long. Athens, which we sort of cover a little bit, they dominated that race, taking first as a team, having 6 runners in the top 12, led by Landis Corrigan, who finished in 1st. A lot of underclassmen on that Athens team as well, so they're going to be one to watch statewide coming up. Moving on, staying on that last Saturday, we go to the McClain Invitational. On the boys' side, Hillsborough placed 2nd. Corbin Winkle won the boys' race with a time of 17:12. And he also had teammates in the top 10 with Rayson Brunk, Chris Souders, and Ryan Howland. Also in the top 10 were Miami Trace's Eli Flaman, who finished 7th. And now on the girls' side, Hillsborough finished 2nd, led by Jalen Williams, who actually finished 3rd. She was first out of the runners in the team race, as East Clinton had 2 runners run on their own and won the race. She was very close to finishing 2nd. Also in the top 10 were Taylor Thurman and Ramsey Haynes from Hillsborough. Zane Trace's Marie Souther, which is a name the cross-country fans around the area should know, finished 4th to lead the Pioneers to a 3rd place finish, and Miami Trace's Carly Cooper placed 9th to lead Miami Trace on the day. And then this most recent Saturday, Vinton County Invitational. On the girls' side, Vinton County finished 3rd, Waverly finished 4th, Huntington 5th out of 11 teams. There were other schools in the area that competed as well. Waverly's Paisley Turner, who's only a freshman, finished 2nd with a time of 21:40. Adena's Vanessa Conley placed 7th, and Huntington's Rachel Lute finished 8th out of a group of 110 runners. So good showing there by those schools. On the boys' side, Vinton County finished 3rd, Waverly finished 4th, and Jackson 5th. Vinton County's Samuel Boyd actually dominated this boys' race, winning by 21 seconds with a time of 16:45. 21 seconds is it feels like an eternity if you've been to a cross-country race for the second place to come in. Oak Hill's Owen Phobel finished 6th, and another Viking, Jackson Walker, finished 10th. Now, we want to get more in depth on cross-country in the future. So if, outside of Bombs Page, I believe it's Mile Split, has a lot of results. It's just kind of difficult at times to find some of the results, but for the most part, we want to get out as much information as we can on these runners because they work crazy hard. I don't want to run. I know they love it and do a great job with it, and it's something that some of us that have never done it maybe take for granted because we just haven't had to go through what they do on a daily basis, but it's super impressive, and we want to get as much coverage out as possible. So yeah, that's it for this week on cross country, but we look forward to having a little bit more in the future as well.
But for Brock and I on this week's episode of Overtime, that is all we have, unless you have anything extra you want to add in about any upcoming volleyball, soccer, anything for this week?
The only thing that stands out is Unioto girls soccer. They have a gauntlet this week. They play Athens Tuesday. I believe this drops tomorrow, as you said. Mm-hmm. So they play Athens on Tuesday. Then they play Chillicothe Wednesday or Thursday. And then they play Jackson on Saturday. They have a gauntlet of a week. So good luck to the Lady Shermans. If they make it out 3-0, I will be thoroughly impressed. I mean thoroughly. If they make it out 3-0, they should win a district title.
Right.
If they make it out 3-0 this week, so I'll see them either against Chillicothe or Jackson. Probably Jackson on Saturday afternoon.
Are all of the? Do you know if those are all away or if they're at home?
No. So Athens will be home. Then they're at Chillicothe.
Yeah, Chillicothe really doesn't matter if it's home or away.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. I mean, 7 miles separates them. And then Jackson comes to Unioto Saturday afternoon.
Okay,
sorry, Wheaties box.
So more or less, I mean, obviously Chili's at a different field, but it's like you said, like maybe 2 miles away.
Exactly.
I don't even know if it's that far. So more or less two home games and a trip to grandma's house for the one in the middle. So
that's probably the best way to put. I've never heard it put like that, but that's probably the best way you could say it.
But for Brock and I, Brock, thanks again for coming on this week. I really appreciate it as John took a trip down, but hopefully John's still able to contribute to the videos he sent in. You guys will be seeing those before myself currently will see them, so we'll see how they turn out. Thank you all for watching this week's episode of SOSA Overtime, presented by McDonald's.